welcome to St. Petersburg, Florida. Going into the new year, St. Pete won a Traveler's Choice Award, landing us the #2 spot on the best of the best destinations to visit list. But what makes St. Pete so special? And what do things cost in St. Pete? Do you need a car while you're here, or is Pinellas County walkable? And what is the weather really like here in the Sunshine City? As you may have noticed, I've time-coded every single question that I'm gonna go over in this video, but just in case, I'm gonna leave them on screen for a couple more seconds. Feel free to skip ahead and get to the answers for the questions that you're looking for, but I will say, I'm about to go over some really cool facts and information about St. Pete that will help you further understand this city and therefore further appreciate it. Okay, I see you decided to stay. Let's do this. So, I was born and raised in this city, and I remember growing up thinking, St. Pete is a hidden gem. But the gem has been discovered. St. Pete's official city bird is the brown pelican. This is the city flag. 10 out of 10, you really can't beat this. And I actually just found this out, but the red and orange represent the sky, the green represents the land, and the blue, of course, represents our water. We are called the Sunshine City here in St. Petersburg, Florida, because we actually hold a Guinness World Record for the most consecutive days of sunshine. Our sunshine streak started in the late 60s and lasted a total of 768 days, which is also where the Sunshine Skyway Bridge also gets its name. Don't be fooled though. We still get storms that'll whack us with roughly 200 lightning strikes in under half an hour. This is Tampa, right? This is Tampa Bay, okay? Tampa Bay area, Tampa. Cool?
Hi there, this is Burl Smith, your television traveler, to show you a sun parlor which is 20 miles long. Here is St. Petersburg, Florida.
What you're seeing behind me right now has always been incredibly fascinating to me. Now, I've spent a lot of time looking into the history of St. Pete, and I need to make one point before we flash back. When I'm referencing the history of St. Pete, I'm referring to like the 1900s. St. Pete was founded in 1903, and before the Spanish came and colonized this land in 1528, the native Tocobaga tribe, being the most well-known, along with the Pahoy, Ozita, and Mocoso tribes, they're the tribes that natively and originally occupied Tampa Bay. The Tocobaga chiefdom was known for their expert pottery and, more relevantly, their ceremonial mounds and burial grounds. There is some really cool history behind the sacred burial grounds of Tampa Bay and how they protect this entire area from hurricanes. But today, unfortunately, it feels like we've just boiled those native roots down to mascots, poorly named beaches, and post-hurricane Facebook posts. So thank you for letting me take some time to give some flowers to the native tribes that occupied St. Petersburg before any of us did. So with that being said, now we can take a look at how cartoonishly wealthy St. Pete was back in the 1900s. This video was recorded back in the 1930s, right here in St. Petersburg. Now, if you think about it, back when video cameras were being released and available to the public, really only rich people could afford them. And if you're rich, with a new camera and some film to burn, why not go get some shots at your beach house down in Florida? And that is what they did. Almost from the very beginning, St. Petersburg has been a vacation destination for the rich and wealthy, which has resulted in these beautifully captured moments that allow us to watch St. Pete grow through the eras into the city it is today.
Well, each day must come to an end, and this one is no exception.
Hi everyone, that skipped right to the cost and expenses of everything. You missed some really cool St. Pete history and lore, but anyway, what do things cost here? I'm just gonna run through these. I believe these are the up-to-date 2023 statistics, but take that with a grain of salt. At the very least, it's a range. Our average home price is looking about $400,000. Our average rent is roughly $1,200 a month. For more produce prices, a loaf of bread, $4.19. Gallon of milk, $2.62. Switching into healthcare now, looking at an average doctor's visit is roughly $115. Now, if you already live in Florida, tuition for the USF St. Pete campus is about $5,200. And if you're out of state, it's about $15,000. Average annual income for an individual is sitting at about $33,000 and $60,000 for an average annual household income. Now, since we're talking money here today, wait, what is this? What's happening? Look at this. These are just a few organizations local to St. Pete that are actively helping to maintain and improve quality of life here in Pinellas County. What is this? That is so strange. I know they're always looking for and accepting donations, but how did they get in the money section? All of their links are in the description. Please check them out. Okay, let's get into some nitty gritty here now. Is Pinellas County walkable? And what is our transit system looking like? Well, let's take a look at the map to really break this down. Let's start over here in downtown St. Petersburg. Downtown St. Pete is very, very walkable. The St. Pete Pier, Beach Drive, and Central Avenue all have lively atmospheres and can be reached by walking or the e-scooters. Let's check over here. Is Clearwater Beach walkable? Clearwater Beach is also very walkable, yes. I've never tested this or know anybody that has done this, but I am sure that you can walk the entire perimeter of this island in just one day. Probably less than a day, honestly. It's walkable. Actually, pro tip, if you can avoid driving on Clearwater Beach at all, you will avoid the most absurd traffic. Now let's check out St. Pete Beach. Is this area also walkable? So here's the thing, St. Pete Beach, along with pretty much all of our other beaches besides Clearwater Beach, they're mildly walkable. Walking on the beach, wonderful. Love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. But when you're walking on Gulf Boulevard, which is the main road, that's when things get a little sketchy. Please, and I cannot emphasize this enough, if you go to cross the road, use one of these crosswalks and press this little button to make these lights start blinking, letting people know you're gonna cross the street. And even when you do all of that, never assume that somebody is gonna stop just because the lights are blinking. Please, please be safe. Now, everywhere else than the few places I just mentioned are pretty auto-centric. You're most likely gonna need a car to get around to these areas. We do have the Sunrunner though. This big blue bus is affordable public transportation from downtown St. Pete to St. Pete Beach. Oh, and we actually do have like a trolley system that runs up and down the beaches, so if you're ever in an area and the parking is terrible, try to find one of these bad boys. So for a place that's called the Sunshine City, we still dropped about 3 feet of rain last year. And really, I think the best way to break down our weather is to go by season. So let's start in the spring. Honestly, spring, the best time to visit, in my opinion, because the temperature sits at about 70, maybe 80. Primarily sunny days for the most part, and the city around springtime has such a vibrant atmosphere, but be warned, that humidity is gnarly. All right, summertime. Listen, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. It gets very hot. Usually we're looking at a temperature of high 80s, maybe 90-something degrees, and that humidity percentage is always so high. So prepare to sweat, but also prepare for some beautiful thunderstorms in the afternoons. Fall down here in St. Petersburg, pretty chill. The temperatures slip back into the mid-70s, 80s, but I would say the best part of fall here in St. Pete is the sunsets. The colors always look so beautiful around this time of the year. And finally, the winter. This is probably the slowest part of the year for us here in St. Pete. Around this time of year, we have an average high temperature of 70 degrees, but sometimes that drops to 50 degrees. All right, so for the final part of this video, I'm just gonna speed run over Pinellas County overall so you can have a better idea of what is where and kind of the areas in relation to each other. Clearwater Beach is our northwest kind of little corner right here. This beach is famous for its iconic pearly white sand. Also in this area, Clearwater Marine Aquarium. They have an incredible animal rehabilitation center here that you could check out for yourself. Also, I haven't been myself, but the newly opened Coachman Park looks really cool. I also want to say that St. Pete is very queer friendly, and we host a massive pride parade downtown every single year, and we also have areas of downtown that are specifically catered to the LGBTQ+. St. Pete is also incredibly pet friendly, and some of the most beautiful murals decorate the walls of this city. Now this is irrelevant, but what does this look like to you? For this video, I'm just gonna lump all of the beaches into one, so this 30-mile white sandy shoreline on the west side of Pinellas County are the beaches. Because Pinellas County is on the west side of Florida, when you look out over the ocean, you're gonna see a sunset. Technically, I guess you could go to the St. Pete Pier and watch the sun rise over Tampa and then watch the sunset on the beach later that day. That's a thing you could do. Okay, now in all seriousness, please hear me out. Do not come visit these beaches if you're incapable of taking the trash you brought to the beach back off the beach. Also, this is very important information. May through October here in St. Pete is sea turtle nesting season. So if you see a nest on the beach, don't touch it, disturb it, take pictures of it, be around it at all. Just literally just ignore it. And if you go to the beach and dig a giant hole, that's so much fun. I love that for you, but just fill it in before you leave so our turtles don't get stuck on their way to the ocean. Same goes for sandcastles. If you make a sandcastle, I love that. That's really awesome, but just knock it down before you leave so our sea turtles don't have to fight through a fortress just to get to the ocean. So those are like the 3 main parts of the city, I would say, but I do want to throw in some honorable mentions. Up here we have Dunedin, fun, small little town. Check it out. This little area right here, Gulfport, as someone who lives here, as someone born and raised here in St. Pete, Gulfport, is a hidden gem. Now, I'm not gonna spoil too much about Gulfport, but if you're looking for a vintage St. Pete vibe. Also, skateboarding iguana. What else do I literally have to say? Next, we're south. Maybe the most south you could possibly get in Pinellas County, here at Fort DeSoto. Fort DeSoto is our county park, and you have to pay to enter, but honestly, it is a must. Our battle era history riddles this park, but it still maintains the most authentic look back at what St. Pete's original coastline environment looked like. All right, now everything you see on the map currently highlighted in red is either a residential area, unincorporated, or still finding its footing. Also, I know I talk about beaches a lot, but our park system is honestly slept on. This is the Pinellas Trail. It's a 22-mile hike and bike trail starting from the south of the county, spanning all the way up through the north of the county. Now, my personal favorite place to eat is Hawker's downtown off Central. It's an Asian fusion place, and their roti is so good it could wake me up from a coma. I'm not even joking. Pinellas County's most underrated spot, in my opinion, is the Florida Botanical Gardens. It's entirely free to enter, and they do a great job of showcasing Florida through their garden. I love this city, and I genuinely cannot see myself living anywhere else. I did get it tatted, so I'm kind of committed at this point. So if you've been to St. Pete, I would love to know how your visit went, and if you plan on visiting St. Pete, please ask me any questions. I would love to answer them. I hope this helped. This is just a video I wish I had when I'm traveling to different places, and I might make a different video diving into each of our beach towns specifically, but until then, peace. Please watch this. As I was filming the sunrise, this little bird just kind of showed up and we watched the sunrise together. And this was the only bird around at the time. Just vibing, like just pure vibes. But when I went to go grab the goggles,